Been 2 days of simmering tension in the Pietermaritzburg High Court. Former President Jacob Zuma's lawyers went head-to-head with state prosecutors in the dragged-out arms deal trial. Zuma brought a special plea in an attempt to remove prosecutor Billy Downer from the corruption case. His counsel, Dalimpofu, argues that Downer cannot be impartial, but it was Zuma's absence in court which brought his medical parole into sharp focus. The case has been postponed to October the 26th. So let's wrap up the past 2 days of proceedings with attorney William Booth. William, thank you so much for joining us. We've heard both arguments, both sides of the argument now. And what do you think the chances are of Zuma's lawyers of being able to successfully get Billy Downer recused? Did Advocate Mpofu's arguments hold any water?
Well, my view on this, and obviously I don't want to prejudge the judge's eventual ruling on this, is I think there's limited chance of Zuma succeeding. The prosecutors have a code of conduct, and it's all governed by the National Prosecuting Authorities Act. That is, a prosecutor must be objective, must apply the law, and must prosecute matters without fear or favor. And he is governed, or she's governed, by the Constitution. So it's interesting to note that suddenly during this argument, the whole issue of the medical certificate arose. A document, I believe, that was made available to the court, and the lawyers for the state were arguing that it is a public document. Therefore, there's nothing wrong with it being, let's say, presented to a member of the press. On the other hand, Zuma's lawyers are saying, well, you know, this is confidential. But my view is, unless the court has actually ordered that a document that is handed up to the court, for example, a medical certificate, not be disclosed to the press, then I don't see anything improper in that regard. So, you know, it's kind of clutching at straws during this argument. A new aspect has arisen, that is the medical certificate. But, you know, the test eventually, has Downer been objective in the prosecution? Is he biased in any particular way? Has he, let's say, targeted Zuma specifically, other than going for what the evidence is and prosecuting the case within the confines of the National Prosecuting Authorities guidelines on the conduct of prosecutors? It is an unusual application, and I think the question to be asked is, even if the court rules that Downer has to step down, that doesn't mean the end of the day, because another prosecutor could take over the matter. It might cause a delay, but I don't believe that's going to mean that Zuma is going to walk out of court scot-free on these charges.
All right, William, we're going to return to the acquittal in just a few minutes. Let's go back first to this medical certificate. President Zuma's lawyers argue that in the certificate itself, it was written confidential, and so it shouldn't have been disclosed to journalists. They're threatening to lay a criminal charge against Billy Downer for leaking that certificate. Do they have a case?
Well, I think they have a very limited case because, as I said, or in fact, no case at all. Because as I've just said, it's, I believe, a document that was presented to the court. So unless the court, the judge specifically has said, this is a document that must not be disclosed to the press, and somebody, either party's lawyers, go and disclose it to the press, that's another matter. But, you know, again, it goes about what is, you know, the code of conduct of a prosecutor. What is a prosecutor allowed to do? As with any lawyer, how is a lawyer supposed to act in court proceedings within ethical grounds? So, you know, to lay a criminal charge, it seems that only they're talking about defeating the ends of justice. So, you know, Zuma's health will have to, at some point, be ventilated in court, because I think this is another angle that his lawyers are taking, that he is not fit to stand trial as a result of his medical condition. So surely that must be ventilated in court at some point. And unless the judge rules that whatever is said in court about his medical condition is as it were in camera, and that can't be disclosed to the press or disclosed to the public at large. So unless there's that kind of order, I don't see there's any contempt of court or defeating the ends of justice kind of criminal charges. If they wish to lay a charge at the NPA that he hasn't complied with his code of conduct, well, then you've got to look at whether he acted properly, whether he was objective, or complying with all the regulations and rules that are laid down for how a prosecutor must prosecute a case.
All right, William, thank you so much for your time. Attorney William Booth wrapping up the past 2 days of former President Zuma's special plea. Judge Pete Koen says he needs time to put together a proper judgment, so we'll wait until the end of October to find out what that judgment is.